Imagine this, a 16-year-old girl, brand new job, slips on a wet patch on the floor. In that split second, a simple, preventable slip leads to a life-changing injury. Now, this isn't just some story I'm telling you to be dramatic. It's a real, stark reminder of what's at stake every single day that we go to work.
Let's be honest. When you hear the words health and safety, what comes to mind? Probably a lot of red tape, right? Endless forms, maybe even a bit of an eye roll. But as that story shows us, this isn't about bureaucracy. It's about a fundamental promise that when you go to work, you're going to come home in one piece. It's about protecting our lives, our health, and our futures.
You see, the cost of getting this stuff wrong, it's not just about money. It's measured in lives that are changed forever, sometimes in an instant, and sometimes through illnesses that creep up slowly over years.
And this really gets at a crucial difference. On one side, you have a safety issue. That's a sudden, visible event, like the slip we just talked about. The harm is immediate. But on the other side, you have a health issue. Think about someone like Jerry, a factory worker, whose hearing just fades slowly over decades because of constant loud noise. It's not one single event. It's 1,000 tiny ones adding up. So you've got one, a sudden failure, and the other, this hidden harm that just creeps up on you.
Okay, so those individual stories are incredibly powerful, but they're just one piece of a much, much bigger global puzzle. So let's zoom out for a second and look at the actual numbers. And just be prepared, they are pretty staggering.
Get this. According to the International Labor Organization, every single year there are 270 million occupational accidents reported around the world. That is millions of slips, falls, and preventable incidents.
And right alongside that, there are another 160 million cases of work-related diseases, those slower, hidden harms we were just talking about.
And when you put it all together, the most sobering number of all is that 2 million people die every single year simply because they went to do their job.
And here is the kicker. As absolutely staggering as those figures are, they're just the tip of the iceberg. They only count the cases that are officially reported. We know that in many parts of the world, incidents go unrecorded. So the true human cost, it's almost certainly far, far higher.
So when you see a problem on this scale, it's really easy to think, well, that's the employer's job to fix, right? But the law, and just plain common sense, tells us something different. It tells us that safety is a responsibility that all of us share.
So why should any organization bother to manage health and safety properly? Well, it really boils down to 3 core reasons. First up, the moral reason. It is just plain wrong for people to get hurt just trying to earn a living. Next, you have the social or legal reason. Society demands certain standards, and we have laws to enforce them. And finally, the economic reason. Believe me, accidents and ill health cost a tremendous amount of money.
And this quote, this really gets to the heart of our own personal duty. This isn't just a friendly suggestion. In many places, it is the law. You have a legal responsibility to take reasonable care, and not just for yourself, but for your colleagues, your customers, for anyone who could be affected by what you do, or, just as importantly, what you fail to do.
Okay, so we've established we all have a role to play, but what does that actually look like in practice? Well, it all starts with learning to see your workplace with fresh eyes to spot the hazards before they have a chance to cause any harm. So let's start building your toolkit.
Well, hazards come in a lot of different shapes and sizes, but we can usually group them into about 5 main categories. You've got the obvious ones, right? Safety hazards like a spill on the floor, and chemical hazards like a flammable liquid. Then you've got dangers in the environment itself, biological things like viruses or mold, and physical hazards like damagingly loud noise. And finally, one of the most forgotten, ergonomic hazards, which is all about the strain that our work puts on our bodies.
Now, I really want you to pay close attention to that last one. Ergonomic hazards are often the absolute toughest to spot. Why? Because just like that gradual hearing loss we talked about, the harm doesn't come from one big accident. It's that slow, steady buildup of strain from doing the same task over and over, or from a poorly designed workstation that eventually leads to a really serious injury.
So, once you've actually spotted a hazard, what's next? What do you do about it? Well, you don't just jump to the easiest fix. There's a really smart, systematic approach, a sort of ladder of effectiveness that we call the hierarchy of controls.
And this isn't just a random list of ideas. It's a hierarchy, an order of preference. The absolute best thing you can do is elimination. Can you get rid of the hazard completely? If you can't, you move down to minimization. Can you reduce the risk, maybe by swapping in a less dangerous chemical? The next best thing is isolation. Can you put up a guard or a barrier to separate people from the danger? After that, we use engineering controls, like adding a physical guard to a machine. Then comes administrative controls, which is about changing how people work through new procedures or better training. And only when all of that has been tried do we get to the very last line of defense, PPE, or personal protective equipment.
Okay, and this is a point I really cannot stress enough. That hard hat, those gloves, your safety glasses, they are absolutely essential, but they are always the last line of defense. They are there to protect you when all the better, more permanent solutions aren't enough or have failed. PPE should never be your first thought.
Look, all these systems, all these tools and hierarchies, they're absolutely vital, but they only work if they are part of a living, breathing culture of safety. And that culture, it's built by the daily actions of every single person in that workplace. That means your role is absolutely crucial.
So what does that mean for you day to day? It really comes down to a few simple but powerful actions. Actually pay attention during your training. Report everything, especially the near misses, because a near miss is a free lesson on how to stop a real accident. Keep your area clean and tidy. Never, ever take shortcuts on safety. And finally, use your common sense. Trust your gut. You have a lifetime of experience that tells you when something just doesn't feel right.
And really, that brings us full circle. Health and safety isn't someone else's job. It's in the spilled coffee you decide to clean up. It's in the cable you take a second to tuck away. It's in the potential hazard that you decide to speak up about. It's the collection of all those small acts that truly creates a safe workplace for everyone. So, I'll leave you with this question. What is one small change you can make today to protect yourself and the people you work with?